Okay, we are back on the back side of our property, and Brian has this new 60-inch grapple on our Kioti DK6010, and I don't know, we're gonna try something here. This is a honeysuckle, what we're talking about. That one's pretty big. We definitely have bigger ones, but this is an invasive species in our area, so the DNR has recommended that we get rid of these. Normally that means going in and cutting them down with a chainsaw, and then we go in and pick them up by hand and drag them to wherever we're piling or burning stuff. So he is gonna actually see if he can take the whole tree out with this root grapple. Well, that's one honeysuckle I don't have to carry around, and a giant log. We worked at the end of last year clearing this area right where he is, and that's literally where we stopped, is that honeysuckle. So there is some dead stuff in there, and he's gonna back up and take it right over here to this void that we're trying to fill in. We are filling in, we're working on it, so this is where we're putting stuff. This tree right here is, it's not straight up, it's falling down the hill. So far I really like this thing because it does most of my job. So as he's driving back over here, I'll show you. This is what we had worked on last year. This whole little grove, these little kind of skinny trees right here are Kentucky coffee trees, and we worked on clearing them out. There's a big, huge tree that's fallen. This tree is actually down in our creek. Oh, sorry.
Okay, it paid for itself.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sold.
Okay, I'm gonna clean this little pile up, and unfortunately we'll probably get one of those raspberry bushes, I bet. Or they might be fine.
They might be okay.
But I'm gonna try to show raking into this a little bit too.
Okay, I'll try and get a little closer.
The RPMs are gonna have to go up.
Okay. These red branch right here, these are black raspberries, wild black raspberries, so he's kind of driving over some, but they'll be fine. So he's like digging in. Let me see if I can walk in here a little bit, not be in his way. He's really digging in there with that root grapple. And then the dust just falls through, or dirt. He's right on the biggest part of that honeysuckle there. I think he needed to go a little bit deeper, but he can still probably get in and get some of that pile. Let's see what he pulls out. I might have to back up here. Close. So I think he's gonna go drop that. So you can see there's some big logs in here, that's in amongst this ground cover. So this was all stuff that we had cut down last year, and that was that's where we stopped, was right there at that honeysuckle. This is our this is wild black raspberry. So we're getting ready to start. We have this big huge tree that we need to take care of that's down in our ravine that he has started working on. So this is exactly what we need this tool for. Oh, maybe you can see from here actually, is so that he can do stuff like this with the tractor, and it's not like me carrying stick after stick after stick, which takes forever. See, look at those vines. Look at those vines. Those things are horrible. When we work out here for a whole day, I'll spend half of my day fighting these thorny vines that go all the way up, and they wrap themselves all the way in and through the trees, and it takes me forever to get them out. So yeah, clear this one little pile, and this is paid for itself, in my opinion. He's got some stuff stuck on there now. I don't know how he's gonna deal with that. On the next one, I might try and walk over there a little bit closer so you can see him where he's dumping it. We talked about getting a grapple last year. See, I think he's gonna have to get out. See if I can go over there and not trip myself up.
That got caught on the guard.
Oh, okay. Caught on the guard. If you couldn't hear.
The cylinder guard caught it. It'll just take some getting used to, I think, on that.
So he'll come back over. So I was saying last year we talked about getting a grapple. He looked at him a couple of times, but we were still getting all of our hay equipment figured out last year, and we still had our John Deere 1025R, which is a significantly smaller tractor. So we just had a lot of other things that were kind of a priority with getting the hay figured out. So the grapple just kind of kept getting pushed back. So right away this spring, we worked on a couple little clearing projects, and then he was looking at them on YouTube, and he called me in. He's like, hey, watch what this thing does. And they were pulling out big piles of brush like this. I was like, yes, please. We need one of those. See there, he's got a good log. And he's got some vines. I don't know. There, that one came out pretty good. See, oh gosh. Those are the things that I might have to be available to kind of help throw those over the edge. I don't know how this is gonna handle it. But if you can see, so he's right at the edge of this is our big hay field in the back, but then this back tree line back here is also our property. And if you go back there, we have a lot of damage from the derecho that we had last year, which if you've never heard of a derecho, you probably haven't unless you've experienced it. It's like an inland hurricane, and everything back there looks like this because we had so much tree damage. You can't walk without just continually stepping over this kind of stuff. So we've got to be able to get back in there and do some clearing. And that's really where this thing is really going to shine. But if he can work this perimeter and pull out the honeysuckle without even cutting them down, that's amazing. So he's really able to just dig down in. He's going to be getting into some bigger logs the further back he goes. So we'll just kind of watch and see. There, he's kind of got that pile good. I think he said it's awesome. I didn't pan over to his face. So if you haven't watched a farm video of ours first, or our property, we have 10 acres here, and we take hay on about 6 of those acres, and then we have about 3 acres of timber. And when we first bought this property, you could not even tell that there was a creek back here in this ravine because it was just farm field before that. So all of this where I'm walking we were here in the end of May, so actually not even that long from, just a couple weeks from where we are this time of year. And all of this was so overgrown, you could not walk the 10 or 12 feet to get here to see that there was a creek, because it was just totally full of thorny vines and honeysuckle. So we've just been working on clearing out the junk and thinning some of the smaller trees so that the big trees can actually grow and thrive. Shortly after, oh, see, he's gonna take it on another one. That's awesome. I'm so happy about that. Shortly after we started looking at this property, we had a huge storm. Not the derecho, that was last summer. But we had a huge like flash flood. And this whole creek that I was just showing you a second ago, which is 20 to 30 feet deep, depending on where you're at, where you're standing, was pretty much entirely full of water. We just had a huge gush of water that came all the way through. So when you look, this big tree was down, but when you look over here, sorry, it's evening, so the sun is setting. When you look over, we have all these trees now that are going at an angle. There's another one over here that's going at an angle. We lost several big, these trees right here are on like their own little island. The whole thing just fell down. And so we've had to go in and clear some of those up as well. So we just have a lot of maintenance in our timber that we're trying to do to make it livable so that the kids can be out here, we can be out here, they can get to things like the raspberries. Our girls love to pick those little purple flowers. And we just want our space to be usable. Look at this funky tree right here. It goes completely around in a circle. That's probably, actually that's a Kentucky coffee tree too. The Kentucky coffee trees are really late to bloom, but there are buds up there. But they do produce like a pod that you can somehow roast and make like a fake coffee out of. We haven't done that, but we've been told that you can. So we've kind of kept this little grove here. I just like that I'm standing here not doing anything except filming and talking to you instead of working to clear this whole area. I'll try and stay back here so now that he's getting further into it, so you can see another scoop close up. This property is like the opposite of how I grew up. My parents bought a soybean field and then we planted hundreds of trees. So I spent my whole childhood planting trees, not clearing trees. So he can really dig, he can really get in there. Got that big root. That's going to be tricky to get out. That's a dead tree there too that he's crunching into. You can hear it, obviously. This is when I'm really thankful he has a cab too. When we bought this Kioti tractor, we really debated about the cab versus not, just because we're out here with him a lot, and so we talk back and forth a lot, or he needs to holler at us to grab something or whatever. But the cab is going to be amazing. It was already so nice in the winter to do snow, and I know when he's out here doing hay this summer when it's 105 degrees, he'll be super thankful. There's a couple nice big logs and some good, those are all roots. Look at that. That is amazing. This might be our most exciting piece of equipment yet. Well, maybe the snowplow. I don't know. I didn't do snow removal before, so this replaces me. So I'm super thrilled about this one. So depending on where you're watching in this video, or if this video even makes it, since it's mostly just me talking, this is a 60-inch grapple from Titan Attachments. This is more of like the heavy duty style. They have an Econo one that is a little less weight, but it was out of stock and it was a really similar price, so we ended up going with this one. And this is the first day that we've used it. We unloaded it off the pallet last Friday and it's been sitting in the garage. Ooh, there's a good bite of stuff. So this is a perfect opportunity to kind of get a feel for it. He's gonna do this other honeysuckle, I might have to move back a little bit depending on which way it's gonna go. He might have to take out that little bendy tree too. There's another one of those vines. There, he's got a little bit started. So I think he's gonna take that bunch over. So again, we're working kind of right here on the edge. It's so hard to give people a frame of reference to how far down that is. He was down standing on this log cutting, and I would say he's 6 foot tall. There's at least another 6 foot above him, and this is not kind of our lowest point right here. This big tree fell a long time ago, but you can see it took down some other little trees. Or you have trees like this that grow out and then they start growing straight back up, and then this tree is nice and straight right here. Or they grow in a little S shape like this tree over here. So we'll watch him for another minute or so. I don't know how much footage he wants. For me, it's cool to watch it because I know how much work is being done here compared to the way that we have been doing it for the last year. So he's getting it figured out, it looks like, so that he's shaking out the dirt and kind of just leveling out where he's been working already, which is super nice. Look at that good black farm dirt. Oh, that was a good one. He got that whole one loosened up. He's getting this figured out pretty quick, which does not surprise me at all. And luckily he doesn't have to go very far to dump this stuff. And that's usually what we try and do, is we kind of pick the next void where we have erosion, and that's where we pile. Sometimes we burn stuff, but if we can, this process right now seems to be working really well for us in trying to help with the erosion control. And it is beautiful out. It rained a little bit this morning, but it's 72 and sunny, and it's not super buggy yet. So it's a great night to be out here working. I'm hoping he can get that one hooked. Maybe he got it that time. There. That's awesome. He might have to re-grab that one, but he might just drag it over there. We'll see. That is so great. I think he can just push it in. He is right there on the edge of that, so he's got to be careful. He's about done with this pile here. Back up a little bit. That tree branch right in front of him was right in the cab, so again, that's nice. I'm glad that he's protected. Well, let's see if he can get that. That tree is dying. That one little branch sticking up is still alive, but that tree is obviously rotten, otherwise it would not be falling apart like that. So he might, he's trying to figure out how to bite that all off. It's got to get enough. I think if he could come at it from the other angle, he would easily be able to get it. But he's right on a little peninsula here, so he kind of only has this one angle of attack on this pile. There, he got it off there. He's got a big vine too. You can see those vines, look, all the way up into the trees. Oh. So you can see, I'll walk up here real quick while he's back. It is really actually pulling out. See, this is a big honeysuckle root. That's a medium to large one, but it is leaving all of the dirt behind, so we can come in here and clear this. You can see where that broken tree goes down into the ravine. Part of it is growing straight up, but this big branch here is broken on this little shelf. So I think he's kind of getting his system. He goes in and just folds it over. Then he can just go in and scoop it from the roots and pull it out. That is amazing. Look at, you can't see him. He's so excited. I have no idea how long he wanted me to film, but I'm having fun watching him work, so I'm gonna just keep filming. And like we've said before, we love trees. We planted 100 trees last fall, and we have plans to plant at least 100 more this year if we can. We'd like to get probably another 100 if we can. So what we're doing is clearing out deadfall that is probably somewhat dangerous for the kids and stuff. We're clearing out the deadfall, and we're clearing out the invasive species. The DNR came in right after we moved in. We had them come out and they walked our whole property with us. The guy went all the way to our back creek, which is way, another 10-minute walk once you get into those trees. Back there, he walked that whole creek with Brian, and they looked at everything, and so they kind of came back with a plan and said, this is the stuff that we would recommend that you get rid of. So that's what we're doing. This honeysuckle is the first thing to get leaves in the spring, and it's the last thing to lose its leaves in the fall, which you think sounds nice, but it shadows out everything else. So in the areas where we have so much honeysuckle, we have no other ground cover and nothing else to help prevent erosion. So in the areas where we have cleared out the honeysuckle, like here where I'm standing, we're getting all of these native grasses and the pretty purple flowers, and the raspberries are taking off. We have elderberries, we have wild elderberry bushes, and then we have elderberry that we've planted. But then we have all of this ground cover. There's the purple stuff that my girls like. All of this ground cover can flourish because the sun is getting to the floor of the timber in here. So this will do a much better job of preventing erosion. You can see this is where the honeysuckle was last year, and there's very little ground cover compared to, lots of ground cover over here. So when you get those out, then it allows the other stuff to come in and do a much better job. We also have these lovely things. Look, these are my favorite. Do you see those things? They are horrific. Those are all thorns. They're so terrible. And that's a small one. And they get really long. They grow up and around everything else. I don't think I could narrate an airplane build, but I can narrate this. That is amazing. Here you can see there's another, just every diagonal tree we lost either in that flash flood 2 years ago or the derecho that we had last summer. That was quite a phenomenon. We were without power for about 3 days, and there were people very close to where we live that were without power for a week or more. It was, the kids and I were home. It was a Monday or Tuesday. It was the beginning of the week. I kind of think it was a Monday. And Brian was working, and he happened to call and was talking to me while he was driving to his next job. And he was just kind of explaining to me this storm that was coming, and he was about a half an hour west of where we live, so I knew it was coming our direction. And it was the most intense storm that I've ever experienced, and I've lived in the Midwest my entire life. So I've been in some storms. Oh, he's trying to get a rock. Hold on. Less life story time. Hang on. Oh, don't drop it. That's awesome. He found this rock with our son, or maybe it was our daughter, last year. And we've been trying to figure out like how we were gonna get it. That's so cool. Always gonna go this way. This is the best tool we've ever bought.
I was just gonna say, I think it paid for itself.
Yeah.
Remember how we brought that first batch from the driveway? I was all down on it.
Yeah. Are you feeling better now?
In here. So, yeah, that would have taken my wife and I probably half a day to do.
No,
probably more.
That would have been a whole day.
And you'll notice that I missed the flowers. I was aiming.
You did. I know.
And so, guys, just so you know, this rock is huge. Look at this. That thing is in there, by the way. It's big.
Yeah.
Like clamped onto. Okay, now that you've seen it operate, now that you understand what it can do, this is we'll have a link to it because it's already screwed up, which is ideal.
Awesome.
That means that you've actually used it. Secondly, I want you to notice that this tractor, I was in mid gear when I was slipping my wheels. So then I put it to low, and then all of a sudden I started tearing the hillside up. What's really cool about this is come in here and look at this. I know you guys have already seen this because she's probably been telling you.
Yep.
But this whole area, it's called a root
grapple.
Root grapple.
Yep.
And there's a reason they call it a root grapple, because these things, I don't know if you noticed the 45-foot roots like that. These aren't roots, these are vines, and they are so horrible. Look at that. Look at this. I can go 360 degrees and it won't break. Well, maybe it did break. Sorry.
It's okay.
So all I'm trying to say is these things are such a pain. Did I bend this Kentucky coffee?
No, that was
It was
bent.
already bent?
Yep.
Okay. So anyway, this is so cool, and look at this topsoil.
I know, that's what I was
I mean,
saying.
it's like amazing.
It's amazing.
And then that tree was already breaking, so I'm glad we got that figured out.
We've
Look
literally,
how perfect this is.
But-
This is like perfect
but we have literally never stood in this spot until right now.
until today.
Because
And by
we
the
couldn't
way,
get to it.
I've never run a grapple in my life,
Right,
except for when we put it on before today.
right.
So just to give you an idea of what we're looking at for skill level and experience. I drive forklifts all the time. And I have driven quite a bit. I got about 55 hours on that tractor. So, and then we had what, like about 40 hours maybe we put on the old John Deere 1025R.
Yeah,
so I'm not
that'd
a
be
very
about right.
experienced tractor operator.
So can you come in this stuff that's like falling over here and here?
I would
Are you
probably
going to be able
more
to get that, you think?
inclined to just take and come out here and pull. If I can get all the way out, now that that tree's out of the way that was rotting. It's
Yeah,
red,
yeah, it sounds
it was
great.
rotting. But I just love the fact that it cleared that whole area. Like, I kind of feel like this is challenging us to a duel right here.
Well, I know, but like this you're obviously not going to get because this goes all the way down there.
That thing
But
is so huge, I don't even think the
No.
tractor would even touch it.
but there's some chunks in here and then there's some honeysuckle over the edge. I
Did
just
you show
don't.
them this?
Yeah, I did. I just don't know how much you want me to film. There's only so much of my life that they want to hear about.
So anyway, the whole idea is this grapple, we got it with the intentions of clearing our back part. This is very tame compared to our back. But you can see how much work we just got done in, like, what is that, 40 minutes or half an hour?
33 minutes.
33 minutes. So I would say at this point,
And that's you sitting
yeah,
in a tractor.
and by the way, I'm cold because my air conditioning is running.
Right.
Did you show them down here?
Yeah.
That's what I did, and that took me literally probably 4 hours by myself. And guess where it was? Right here. It was here.
Yep.
Meaning that I pulled it down the hill and used a chainsaw to cut up every piece painstakingly. And there's a time and place for it. But guys, I would have loved to be able to just grab a pile and push it over.
Yeah.
It would have been so much easier.
These piles over here were a couple days of work last year, but then this immediate pile was a whole afternoon and into dark.
Well, was that a whole afternoon or was that an
pretty
evening?
much because we were?
Yeah, that's right. It was
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 hours.
It was several hours.
But then, like, this is the vine, guys. Look at this.
Yeah.
If I grab onto this, I can walk out with it with the machine because it's big enough, and it will bend that tree over.
Yep.
It will bend it to the ground. So anybody who's worked in the woods knows exactly what I'm talking about. Now, why are we so concerned with these woods? Because we're trying to make them usable and nice and beautiful. And I mean, there's something about having a few thorn bushes here and there and having, you know, raspberry bushes, and we want to save as much of that as we can. But the practical reality is, what good is this big empty space? It's not like we're going to be hunting deer right here, you know? That maybe back there, but not here. This is like the front yard essentially. And now I can go and take care of, we have, what type of tree was that was down?
Mulberry.
We have a mulberry tree that got knocked down that's hanging out into our hayfield. So we got to get that. And I know you guys may not be aware of this, but we take hay on this property. That's the next big thing we got to do with this Kioti, is we got to run our 54-inch drum mower that we got from Titan also. You may have noticed kind of a common theme here. Then we got our baler from Redlands in India. And And so we can set you guys up with those if you want to buy one.
And our rake is from
And the rake. Yeah, so we have a powered rake, and then we have our hay baler, which makes mini bales that are 75 pounds. And we had a pile of them up here, but we sold a bunch of it. There's some up front, so you've probably seen it in our videos. So this year, our hay is going to be a lot higher quality. We're getting the weeds under control. We're getting all the trees out of it. And I know that sounds bad, but like when you're new to this, you have to work through. Like you don't know all this stuff. Like back here, all this stuff, we're killing off all these different weeds.
Yep.
And
this
people that want
hay here.
That's grass hay, they want it to be high quality grass. And like over there, they've got alfalfa grass mix. So you can see the distinguishing line where it goes from green to darker green.
That's not our property.
Yep.
That hill.
We didn't want alfalfa because it'll catch up in the wheels of airplanes.
Yeah.
But we still needed to use this for agricultural use, and we are. So in good faith for a profit incentive, in case the state's asking. So at this point, huge. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of pickup like this thing.
Right.
Here. You know, I didn't get it. Well, big look. So I'll just do that. Okay. So that's taken care of now. Is it every time I throw something, stuff goes in your eyes? I'm sorry.
No, just since you've been out of the tractor.
Like this mess here, I don't know. This Kentucky coffee is probably not worth the time it's going to take because it's already bent over.
Right.
Here. So I don't know if this bent over from another tree. But look how small the gaps are between these trees.
Yeah.
These probably need to be thinned anyway so that they can actually be productive trees.
These over here aren't bad, but there's some of those little groves that we probably need to take the little ones. And
the other thing that's so cool about this is you can go in and you can clear out all the root structure. I mean, I wasn't just knocking down a honeysuckle with a chainsaw and then just to have it grow back this season.
Yeah.
It's gone. It's out of the ground. It's not going to grow back because there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So when I picked those things up and I got those root balls and you saw me inside the tractor cheering, that's because I won the victory against those things. The other thing too that's really nice about this is we can help start to kind of get the grade where it needs to be so that the hill doesn't keep falling down at its will, okay? Because the water always wants to cut away at the dirt and eventually you slip down. Well, then we use 10 feet of topsoil. There's places in the country that would kill for that level of topsoil, like over there.
In our yard.
So the other thing I really love about this is you could notice that I was shaking the mess out. And that meant all the dirt stayed and just the stuff I wanted out went out. Now, if it's small enough to fall, I don't care. Just let it rot in there. That's perfect. So really, really impressed with this. The heavy duty aspect was very good. Now, one thing I can definitely say is we wanted the split grapple.
Yes. I did not talk about that actually.
The split grapple may end up being a bit of an improvement for some of you. But depending on what you're doing, having one single piece may be good. We thought, in our case, like how often do you get a log that's the same size on one half and the other half? You know, because our trees here are all deciduous trees, except for like 4 or 5 evergreens. So if you have mostly deciduous trees, you're gonna have like a root ball at the end that's really big, and then you're gonna have like the tree that goes down and gets real narrow. So you can clamp one side, and I don't know if you guys could see it, but when I got that last tree, I had one side closed all the way and the other side almost all the way open. So it's already proved itself to work. The other thing is when you back drag with this, you'll notice there's a bit of an angle, so you don't have the teeth on the bottom side. Okay, so when you're back dragging and you bring it back like this, you got to be careful to leave a little bit of room in these cylinders. Okay, you don't want to go, I mean, you see, I was not being nice to this machine doing this. That is hard on the machinery. And that's when you realize, oh yeah, that's why I wanted a 60 horse tractor instead of a 25 horse tractor. Because that's when people get killed, is they're doing something crazy with a small tractor. And this is pretty crazy even with a small tractor still, to be honest. And the first day I had that 1025R, that log right there about killed me. The one that's across the way. Zoom in.
Which one?
The one that's laid down. It's right here. Sorry, I can't see it as good in the screen. Where is that one? It's laid down. Gosh, you can't see it. Right there. That one. Right there.
Oh.
That thing was stuck up in the air.
Oh.
Yep. And it scratched the hood of my brand new to us. I think we got like 50 or 60 hours on it.
Yeah.
But it reached out like this, and I wasn't used to hydrostatic controls yet. So I went to brake, except I pushed on the forward. And so I went and lunged into it, and I had to do one of these. And that thing came up right like this.
Yeah, I said that I'm super glad you have the cab.
The cab isn't going to stop that from killing you either. But
right.
the thing is, look how much further back you are.
Yeah.
And the visibility is still good on this Kioti.
Yep.
Because this hood, on a deer tractor, it would go out to here. Now, I'm not saying that's not beautiful and it doesn't look great, because it does. But what I am saying is that your visibility sucks on a comparable John Deere tractor. That was one of the big things that we couldn't get over. We said, okay, all other things considered, can we fix the visibility issue on the John Deere? No. So this was the better option. And I think Kubota does the same thing. It has a smaller hood on it. But this thing opens all the way up and you can get to everything just like this. It's just super easy. It's right there. You can get the stuff. The Deere was not like that. And there is a screen in here for dust and stuff, which is nice. That did not exist on the John Deere. And this
Not even dusty.
That's metal. Now, I don't really care. It's just going to dent. If you get a Deere, it's made of plastic. I don't care. Plastic, metal, it doesn't make a difference, but it is different. So anytime you can add weight to a tractor, you're pretty much money ahead. We got to find a place for this, and we got to finish this up. So do you have any other details you want to explain or discuss?
Shared plenty of details.
I feel like there's going to be a million questions on this. We've watched a lot of Grapple videos, and you know, we don't claim to be experts on all this stuff. We're just kind of new to it, but we love sharing our experience with you. And when we find a product that's decent, that's actually pretty much one of the more cheaper options that you can get, we're very happy to share that with you. Now, if we get a crappy, beat up, junky, used piece of equipment and it works great, we might share that, but usually we just want to share what you guys can go out and get too. We don't want to share it if we just got a one-off deal. You know, anybody can go find a one-off deal at an estate sale. But you can go buy this right now.
Right.
Just follow the link in the description below. Plus, you'll be supporting our channel.
Yeah. And Titan has been great to work with because we looked at some other Grapple options.
Yeah, and they were cheaper.
Yep. And they're still sitting in my Gmail. Haven't been responded to in 6 days. Would you like to, it's been weeks and I haven't heard back from people.
It's been like 2.5 weeks.
And
we ordered this and we had it in 3 days.
3 days. And it's not from Amazon. It's from Titan.
And by the way, when you order stuff and you get it within 3 days, it's not like it's coming from down the street. This is from 4 states away, 5 states away.
4 or 5,
so it's not coming from China or from India or anything like that. It's coming from, I don't know where this is made, to be honest. It could be made in China, it could be made in America. I really don't care. As long as the thing is the right price and it gets here and the steel is of decent quality, I don't care.
Titan is based in, I think it's Tennessee or Kentucky. But when you call, you talk to a real person and they answer your questions, and their shipping is always free, and it's included.
It's not free.
It's included. But it's
and that's part of the reason why this is a little bit more expensive. Yeah, they include liftgate service, because who has a farm and has a loading dock? A lot of people, but we don't.
But not everybody.
And our farm is considered residential because we don't have any liftgate, or because we would need liftgate service.
Right.
So if you order liftgate service, it's usually going to be at least $75 to $150 adder on an LTL freight carrier. So if you have a $200 freight bill and you add $75 to $150, that's a $350 adder. So you buy a $4,000 piece of equipment, it's maybe not a big deal. You're buying a $1,600 piece of equipment, that's a big deal. You know, it's a third of the cost of the vehicle, you know, or the equipment. If you're buying a backhoe that costs $7,000 and the extra $75 is not a big deal. You know, but you may not get liftgate service on that heavy of a piece of equipment. They may just say you have to come pick it up at the terminal. So just lots of things to keep in mind. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video watching us waffle. We'll put this part at the beginning, and then we'll put like our screw ups next, and then we'll put the unboxed at the end. And that way you guys can just get right to the chase. Most people don't want to see the unboxing, they don't care. But if you're wanting to see it, we put it at the end. If you want to watch it, great. If you don't want to watch it, you're not going to hurt our feelings, guys. Just watch what you want. Buy from the links if you want to help support us. Click the bell for notifications. Come back for more. Of course, subscribe. And we hope to see you here for the next RC video.
Okay, we're going to film one more part of this tonight, because he's going to bring this across on our bridge that I really wish we would have had a grapple for when we built it. This bridge is a bridge that we made. We have a series on it if you want to see how we did it. But the base of the bridge is logs, 1, 2, 3 logs from a tree that we had on our property that had fallen down. And we put the logs out. You can see even with the heavy tractor, there is very little deflection. And that grapple is heavy and the rock is heavy. So he's gonna go up and around, and we are gonna put this rock into our creek up here to use as a stepping stone. And when we say creek, this is actually just farm drainage up here. And it runs most of the year. It does sometimes dry out in the summer when it's really hot, but it's always just a really small creek space. But our kids can come down here, and we're trying to get some more rocks in here to help again with erosion is kind of our main goal with lots of this stuff. So I'm not totally sure. We kind of talked about a spot. I'm not 100% sure where. Sorry, we're trying to communicate via poor hand signals. I think it should come up here because we already have. Okay, stay back by that tree. I'm thinking he's gonna turn in here, and then he's just gonna kind of put it over the edge. Okay, and I want to try and be close so that you can see this, but also not.
You want to watch from the bridge, or you got a good angle?
No, I don't. That's what I was just trying to figure out.
There you go.
Okay, that's good. I can do that.
Okay, careful. Everybody watch out.
So he's got it open. Sure, that works. It's like up right under the swoop of that tree.
Oh, cool.
Do you want to get out and look?
Yeah.
Because we're kind of done then. It's getting a little chilly.
Yeah, that was a big rock.
That was a big rock. That
That's
was
huge.
a big splash.
I knew it was going to be a big splash.
You could like feel it when it hit the ground.
That's awesome. But thing is, if we did a couple more like that in different spots, then the kids could like climb down to those different spots, and then they could have stepping stones that are like really large.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Really happy with this thing.
Super cool.
It's really cool. Look at Laura so that they can get a size reference.
Oh, yep.
Pretty cool. We've been. We also stained that that bridge. Did you notice anything in terms of deflection?
I mean, just the boards give just a
boards,
tiny
but not
little
the
bit,
logs,
but not the
right?
logs. No, not at
And that's
all.
what's so cool is we built that bridge, and I think we ended up spending about $500 in materials, and we had 2 hickory logs that were about 17 feet long. We have a build series on that too. The only thing we didn't cover in the build series was the oil, because we used oil to stain it.
Worked really good.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, guys. So the Kioti DK6010SE hydrostatic.
6010.
6010. DK6010 SE hydrostatic.
HST.
Sorry. So with the cab, and obviously the Titan Grapple, and we'll link to that. Obviously we're not linking to the tractor, but you guys can check it out. If you're looking at a John Deere or Kubota or whatever, New Holland, just add it to your list of people to check out, because it's worth it.
Yep.
I went to roll it out, ended up buying it, love it.
Yep.
So, all right, guys, that's all you get. Thanks for watching. All right, YouTube, so we're here with an update on this thing, which is awesome. And we just went through and cleared tons of stuff out of this ditch. These are all just little volunteer trees. They're garbagey trees. These ones here are what we're gonna, try to keep. But you never know when they're gonna come out with the mower and just take this all out, because we're technically in the right of way. They could come and cut it down tomorrow and not even ask a question.
Yep.
And that would suck. But these are all little dead ones, crappy ones.
And this is all just like dogwood for the most part.
Just to
Yeah.
give you an idea.
It works really good.
Don't put anything in there you don't want to lose.
No.
I could see somebody accidentally tripping and doing that.
Yeah.
So if you're going somewhere for a distance,
Just close it.
yep, close it, power it off, and then you can hold it like that.
Yeah.
It's really safe, okay? Then to power it on, you just press that button again, and then you double click and it wakes up.
Yep. Yep.
So double click like that. But yeah, you can see it worked really nice for clearing. I mean, this is, I don't know, probably 100 or so different small trees. I mean, most of them were very small, but there was a few that were pretty huge.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna not worry about down there because it's not a problem yet. But over here, this is the entry to the property, and we want to try to make it look nice. And this year, we'll try to do a little bit backfill and make this nice like what we've done over here. This is still not done. It's a work in progress, obviously. But where you see all this is gravel and dirt, and then of course the grass we're trying to get it to take, and we're trying to get the weeds to go away.
Yeah.
And that way the grass will help hold this, because they poured a concrete skirt here, and then that's where our culvert exits. But that culvert only drains probably about to the phone pole.
Yeah.
And then this little
back
area here. So it's really frustrating because you get a lot of mosquitoes and stuff in here when it starts to get full of water. And then down here it drains nicely down to our creek.
Yep.
So anyway, the other thing we wanted to talk about real quick is we've got this Grapple, and you guys are probably watching the Grapple video right now, so I'm gonna hand this off to the camera crew.
Okay.
We haven't even used it yet. We've just had it parked in the garage all weekend. We kind of had a weird weekend and like got caught up on sleep and stuff and did like 47 videos. So we're gonna go ahead and use this thing and just see how it does. I'm assuming it's not gonna get everything on the bottom because I don't want to scrape it on the ground, on the concrete. And I'm not trying to pretend like this is gonna be used on concrete all day. This just happens to be the first load of stuff that we're picking up with the Grapple. So who knows? Again, 60-inch Grapple, tight attachments, it's a skid steer attachment.
Yep.
At the end of the video, we'll have kind of the unpackaging, and you can actually see it up there by the house. It's sitting there next to our forks, which are also from Titan, which also have an adapter that go to the skid steer attachment from John Deere. I think it goes up to 5 series, like 1, 2, 3, and then 4 and 5 series has a different pole position. So it's got different pins that shoot out. So I'll go ahead and do this right now. Hopefully it works good.
Okay. So like he said, he's going to be kind of careful so he doesn't scrape up the concrete. So he's just kind of getting a feel for it. This stuff is all really small. So I think he's going to try and come in from the top down and maybe clamp it. That looks good. Ooh, nice. And like you said, we're not going to get everything with this small, with all of this little small stuff, but normally we would take and put this on sleds, or the kids and I would just carry arm loads back to wherever we were going. So that just saved me hours of work and walking. I'm not sure where he's going. I think he's going to come down towards the creek. We've been trying to fill in some of our gullies where we have erosion concerns. We're taking some of this brush and putting it back there. So I think he's going to go around the house. We had a little bit of rain today. So I will pause and meet up with him where he's going to dump this. Okay, we'll see if he's going to wait for me. He is. Yeah. That's one of our little areas where we've been dumping stuff. And then he's able, it looks like, to just push it down, which is great. So that's a little spot where we've had some erosion. So we're just filling it in with stuff as we cut it. Then it helps to hold back the dirt or catch any dirt that falls. So that was pretty easy. This is on a DK6010SE HST tractor. And we haven't had any issues with power on this tractor at all. So he's gonna go up and get the next load, and we'll probably meet him back down here.
Okay, so obviously that didn't work very good. Partly because twofold. One, this is designed for picking up like logs and rocks and things like that. And it's designed to sift through the dirt and pick them out of the dirt. So in our case, we're on top of, you know, an asphalt, or excuse me, a paved driveway here, and we don't want to scrape up the driveway or the brand new tool. We'll wait until we get into the weeds to do that. So at this point, that didn't work great, but we just loaded this and that worked fine.
I think it worked. I mean,
okay.
You know how many trips that would have taken us to carry all that stuff?
But two things I learned in our first maiden voyage with this thing is that A, 650 pounds is pretty heavy for this machine, and that's a big machine. I mean, it's a 60 horsepower tractor. I would have looked at that with our little 1025R and I'd be like, yeah, that's no problem, it can do it. Except you probably could barely pick that up, let alone 100 pounds worth of tree.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. They sell an econo version of this, and it's lighter by 200 pounds. It would make a big difference because there's a lot of bounce in the loader, and I think that's, you know, you have to run your RPMs way up to get it to, you know, kind of hold still. And I feel like it obviously works. It's just that our branches are not exactly ideal for this application.
Right.
We just wanted some excuse to use it. So
Yes.
Actually what we're going to be doing with it is back here in this first little area where you see the tree line go. There's a spot where we have a bunch of logs, and I mean the logs are like, you know, this big and this big and this big and 20 feet long. We can go in there and pick up a huge chunk of it, and then we want to push it over the edge. Those ones you could probably do with a regular bucket or forks. Forks work really nice for a lot of this stuff because you can run the forks together and you could load. We actually put an entire thorn tree on there. What kind of tree is that? Is it a locust tree?
It's a thorny honey locust.
Honey locust? Yeah, but it was like a 45 feet tall tree. And we cut it down and we very carefully checked because we didn't want to
Because the thorns are like,
they're like
this big.
Yeah. So we had huge amounts of tree, and we just did that with the forks.
But it would have been nice with the grapple to be able to go in and clamp it down instead of gingerly
driving all the way across the entire
Yeah.
yard. Yeah. Now the other thing too is just keep in mind when you're making your decision, the way that these things collapse down, they don't touch or anything like that. It's not like you have a pincer grip. It's like if you were to grab with your hands and you're doing this. Okay, there has to be something in between. And if the something is too small, it's still allowed to move.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the reason why this, you know, just driving off road. And I was trying to change my direction. I was thinking we were going to go over this bridge right here and then go around this way. And about halfway up, I changed my mind. So if you thought maybe I was drinking and driving, I wasn't. I was just changing my mind. So anyway, we'll let you watch this trip over. Did you get the most of the first trip?
I'll probably, well, now I know where you're going, I'll walk faster to get
Sure.
down there because I was kind of coming over the hill.
So I'll probably turn around on the driveway here too, so the camera crew can follow easier.
Oh, okay.
And we'll just let you watch, and you can see what I'm talking about. A lot of the debris is allowed to fall out because this doesn't hang on to it unless it's big and it's packed in with, like, you got to get a full bite. So every time I watch people use grapples, I've always noticed that, but I didn't realize, I didn't connect the dots. Like, okay, they're going for a full bite. It's not about efficiency. It's about, yeah, if you don't have a full bite, it just really doesn't work.
Well, and what we're usually cutting down is like big honeysuckle and stuff, and those would, this just happened to be
that. It'd be like that tree right there would be 2 of the branches, and there'd be like 8 of them.
Yeah.
So you would need to go in and pick up like an entire bush that weighs like 400 pounds.
Yeah.
So you can go in with a chainsaw and cut 40 different times, and you're in there getting scratched up and everything. It's a real pain. It's not a pleasant experience, and we have thousands of them to clear. So basically, or well, hundreds of them to be probably fair. Maybe thousands.
Maybe thousands.
Either way, you know, this is pretty easy stuff. It's just small stuff. We could have just thrown it in a wheelbarrow for goodness sake. I mean, we don't need the loader on the Kioti here.
This was more fun though.
So anyway, we'll give you a shot of this. we're not here trying to tell you this is right for you. We're just trying to help you get a feel for how it worked for us. And then you guys can make your own decision based on, just like when we do the airplanes. We aren't trying to tell you that this is the right solution for your job. But I am telling you, the 650 pounds is heavy. So when you're thinking to yourself, oh man, I just don't know. I mean, it's not a big difference in price. I think I just want to get the more expensive one because it's got thicker fingers, you know, or the teeth are reinforced better, or I'm afraid of beating it up. Don't be afraid of beating it up. Be afraid of the fact that you're going to lose all of your capacity on your machine. You have to worry about the capacity first and then be more careful second. Also, you'll save a few bucks, you know, doing that. Also, off camera, we greased 1, 2, 3, 4 points on each. 1, 2, 3, 4 points on each side. Okay, so those are the only things we had to do. And then I did take off the plastic because the camera crew told me that she would mutiny on filming if I left it on there.
Yes.
Because I'm such a weirdo.
Too bad you didn't leave it on there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but other than that, that's our quick 10,000 foot view of what we got so far. So without further ado, we'll drive back.
Okay, so he's turned around here. You can see there that opening where those teeth don't close like he was talking about. So he's gonna drive up and I'll try and keep up with him and show you unloading this last one. Yeah.
So you can see, I mean, it's not exactly like we were losing, you know, sequoias out of that thing. It's just little pieces like this. It's not really designed to pick up 4 of them at a time. It's designed to pick up like 1,400 of those.
Right.
And depending on your loader capacity, you should be able to get quite a bit. But the idea is if you can have it a heaping scoop and then bite it, it will help. So, and I think we have quite a bit that just fell out as we go.
We'll walk behind
so
and
we will walk and continue to pick them up. But you'll notice I closed, and it doesn't really even prevent them from falling out at this size. So
right.
If all you're doing is small trees like this, first of all, you probably don't need a grapple. Second of all, in the grass, if you were cutting down an entire tree and you had thousands of these pieces, you could still use the grapple to get them sorted and use it like a rake. Okay, so we obviously didn't need to rake it up there, but we could have just cut all the stuff and left it in the ditch and just gone up and down and picked it up maybe.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we're gonna go ahead and jump in.
Okay. Okay, so the kids and I picked up some of the sticks that had fallen out on the last one, and you can see he's got it tipped all the way back, and that's all the more angle he's got on this hill. And this is I don't know, it's not super steep, but it's definitely a hill. So we just threw some of those little ones back in, and now he's pulling up to this little spot where we're gonna dump it. We've got a couple of new trees planted here, so he's got to kind of work his way around so he doesn't run over the new trees. And then he can kind of crunch it down. So that's what we're going to be using it for. Not all the little tiny things like we did today. You can see that's all stuff that we just have, most of that is honeysuckle and vines. But we have this depression here. You can see we have a creek that's way down here. There's a little stream that runs down here, and it's probably about 25 to 30 feet down from where I'm standing. So he's just mixing this or playing with it. But this hill right here all slid down. So to control the erosion, we're filling it back in with this stuff that we cut down to help hold in the dirt, and then it'll obviously will just eventually decompose. Oh, he's got one stuck. There it goes. And this is truly the first time that he has used this. We had it delivered 3 days ago. We uncrated it, put it on the machine, and then it's been in the garage all weekend. So this really is the first time that we've had a chance to use it. So
you can pick a whole mouthful of this, and that was enough to barely be able to keep from tipping over. I don't know if you guys could tell, but even with 950 pounds of water weight in the wheels, all 4 wheels, and then about 800 pounds of ballast box, that basically was everything that this tractor could probably pick up. I mean, I could go maybe 10% more before I tipped over, and I'm on a little bit of an incline here, you can tell. But just a couple things to consider about that. When you get a 650 pound tool, you're going to have to worry about losing capacity. Secondly, note the angle of this bottom rake. Okay, this is nice when you're trying to roll the bucket back or curl the bucket back, because when you're coming down a hill like this, you're going to lose a lot of your stuff out the front. And so these little teeth do help a little bit, but they also catch stuff when you're trying to get it out. So it's always a trade-off. Also, these things don't collapse. I thought these bent, but you can see we have a collision point here. That's disappointing. See that? So when I roll that all the way back, it's colliding with this brace. So I don't know if these could be loosened and that could be slipped forward. It looks like there's a slotted screw hole here. So I could probably loosen those and allow that guard to go up. But you can see what happens is when you pick up a big mess of woods and you drop it down, sometimes they'll fall and they could come back and hit your grill, and they could go into your engine and cause all sorts of mess. So be really careful when you pick it up. And obviously we're picking it up just to demonstrate that it can lift up a lot of weight. Not just for the Kioti tractor, but of course for the Grapple. The Grapple has absolutely no problems with the weight. You could pick up far heavier than what we can pick up with this tractor with that Grapple. So I would say that if anything, you might be able to get the Econo version and do what you need to do with the smaller size compact tractor. And I would say this is a middle of a compact tractor size range. You know, because I'm not sure if it's like 100 horsepower where they consider them like a compact tractor instead of a subcompact tractor.
Oh.
But anyway, I love this tractor. It's been very good to us. It's done everything we needed to do. Those loads of tree branches are probably about as big as we would normally pick up. The problem we're going to run into is if you have 20-foot logs like that, you're not going to be able to drive out of the wooded area where you're grabbing them from. So also you'll notice that this can go below grade when you're going to pick stuff up. And that really does help. I mean, most loaders are going to go below grade, so you can lower down, you can pick up the front wheels off the ground. Well, that goes way below, which is really nice when you're doing digging. So some of the tractors don't let you go hardly at all below your front wheels. So, and then this is what we've been doing with all of our, well, not all of it, but a lot of it. We just throw it over the edge here, and we're just basically making a fill zone. And what we're going to do is over time, we're going to fill this. And then depending on if we ever get fill or not, we might actually put stuff on top of it and just make a small usable area. I mean, it's not like you're going to be driving tractors over it. We may burn this depending on what we need to do, because obviously this stuff is old and it's dried out nicely. But as we clear out a lot of the dead trees and things like this, we put them into areas like this where everything wants to wash out, and we don't want a big landslide, so this will help slow it down. So, and you can, did you show them over there?
No, huh?
This is actually where we really started to kind of fall in love with this property, is where we built this first man bridge, and it's collided with gravity now, of course. And we took our ropes and things that were across there, because when this slipped down the hill, it was no longer useful. But just look how cool that looks. Yeah. And then we've been doing some work out there, if you want to point on camera for them, so they can see where we've been clearing. Those are dead trees. They fell during a big storm. Yep. We're basically just trying to get rid of all the dead stuff, or a lot of the dead stuff. You want some of that for the animals to use as cover. But you don't necessarily want it to be the only thing out there.
And then the invasive stuff like honeysuckle.
Yeah, right. Well, and you give place for like the termites to not be on your house.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you give a place for the ants and things like that to go. And then, of course, that feeds the whole ecosystem. So we just love the way it looks. And it's just more pretty every year. And like all these purple flowers and everything, they're really fragrant, so you smell them. And then in the middle of summer, when all this stuff fills in, then you can go in here and all day long, you're guarded from the sun. And it's just beautiful and comfortable. And unless there's a million mosquitoes, and then it's not so comfortable.
Yes.
So there's going to be some periods of the season where the mosquitoes are a little bit out of control, but most of the year it's actually really nice. So anyway, we'll give you guys another update with that. We'll show you using that inside of, you know, more where we've got, you know, like over here where this dead tree's fallen and things like that. And we'll just give you guys an idea of what it can do and what the tractor can do with it. So if you have a similar 60 horsepower tractor, that'll give you an idea of kind of what to expect. And you can look up the Kioti specs on that KL 5521 just to compare it to your tractor if you got a different tractor. And that is just a loader model number. It's a KL 5521, and that's a DK6010SE HST, which came better equipped than the CK, which is one size down, in a similar outfit. So we went with the DK because it was bigger, and we got a little bit more for our money, and we love it. So
yep.
All right, guys, that's it. Stay tuned. We probably got a little bit more on this video coming. Oh, hi there, YouTube. Brian Phillips here. We got a new toy today, and we're really excited to share it with you. This is the Titan Attachments 60-inch grapple bucket with 2 clamps instead of 1. There are many choices. We have searched the internet far and wide to find the best value, / a company that will pick up the phone. / a company that will reply to an email. Because believe it or not, if you look even harder, you can find many that are cheaper, but yet they don't answer emails.
You can't order them.
Or you can't order them because they're out of stock for some mysterious reason. Anyway, so we ended up with this, which looks really good. We've actually done business with Titan a number of times. In fact, the fixture with which we're using to pick it up and the fixture with which we're using to adapt it to our quick hitch are both Titan attachments, which is very cool. We have had very good experience with Titan. We've had a number of different problems that happened in our experiences, our dealings with Titan, and they've always come through and made everything right, as right as they can make it, and they've always exceeded our expectations. That is something I cannot say for every experience we've had.
And we got this in 3 days.
3 days.
Halfway across the country.
Yeah, this has come from Tennessee, right?
Yeah, or Georgia. Yeah, Tennessee, I think.
So anyway, it comes with 2 hydraulic cylinders, grease zerks, 3 of them on the top, 3 of them on the top. It comes with a spring that's zip tied down. This is by far the best packaging we've seen from Titan so far. We got exceptional service from our freight company. You know, you never know with LTL carriers if you're going to have good luck or not, because they usually touch so many different hands. And even the guys that come and deliver them will be annoyed with the guys that delivered them to their shop. So you really don't know, but we've got really good service on this one. The guy came out in his own personal pickup to drop it off because there were backlogs still from a storm in, I don't know, it's like February.
Storm, yeah.
Yeah, the whole country
South.
is behind still because of it. And I know it because I work at all these companies. So I work on their scales. So anyway, this is really exciting for us. I wanted to show you, we have the 48-inch forks on here. I painted the tips yellow because it does help a lot with visibility. Been very, very happy with the Kioti. This is a DK6010SE. It's a hydrostatic with cab, air conditioning, heat, recirculate, something that wasn't necessary in the John Deere that we looked at opposite this. Because who wants to recirculate the air when you're, you know, cutting hay and it's like the dustiest thing in the history of time? You know, why would you want to do that? Well, we do. Also, there's a screen in front of the numerous intercoolers. So that was something that didn't come standard on the Deere, which I couldn't believe. So even my 1025R had a screen. So what we're gonna do is we just wanted to show you this really quick. Sorry, I don't mean to jab John Deere. I like John Deere stuff a lot. But this Kioti, it was one of those things where I went to the dealer and I was going to exclude it from our list of options just because I said, you know what, it's in stock. Let's go look at it. Let's see how much I hate it. Ended up buying it. So anyway, I love it. It's been a great tractor. We are almost ready to take hay, but one of the things we're doing this year is we're gonna get out into the back. We have a lot of derecho damage and we have to collect a lot of trees. And I'm talking like, we have about 3 acres back there and you can't walk 2 steps without stepping over a log. So it's gonna be weeks, even with a grapple, probably just, you know, on and off working. You could probably get it done in 3 or 4 days if you're working like, you know, 12-hour days, hard days. But we don't have the luxury of doing that many days in a row. So this has a quick detach, so it's gonna hook on just like this, just a skid steer attachment. You do need to have some sort of a accessory hydraulic. In our case, we have the flat face fittings here, and we got our hoses locally in town, and then we ended up getting the ends at Summit. And Summit, we can link to that in the video description below. They have been phenomenal to work with, and they have all the different sizes. In our case, I believe we're 1/2 inch on those, which is way more than you need. 3/8 inch would have been more than we needed. Like, this is a 4,000 PSI line. I don't even think that we can produce anywhere near that on this tractor. I think everything else is rated for like 3,000 PSI, if that. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. If I would have done smaller lines, it might have been a little bit easier to route those, but I'm glad I have the bigger ones, because then if we use them for something else, we can be totally sure of it.
And the grapple came with
And the grapple came with flat face fittings that are in a bag right now. Okay, so that's very nice. And boots. So we got the rubber covers on there. Those are super nice. If you store your stuff outside, you want to make sure you're using those things, because I'm telling you, every single time I look out and there's snow getting all over this equipment, it hurts my soul just a little bit. And so I cannot wait to have it out of the weather. And honestly, like the paint on all the equipment that we've purchased that sits outside, it just fades and fades. And the stuff that sits inside, it shows virtually no wear and tear. It looks like the day we bought it. So definitely excited to get this thing out and try it. We're going to show you guys the unpackaging and the initial hookup. It should be a very quick thing. And I've said that before, and then 5 hours in the video, we're done. But we wanted to show you exactly what it looks like. It's all bolt together. Bolts and lock washers and washers. Look at this, guys. That is amazing. This is just basically a steel frame. And then I don't know if this is a Titan thing, or in our case, we had Saya Motor Freight had delivered it. They may have put it on a pallet because it's easier for them to get under it. A lot of the freight guys don't like having to pick this way on freight, so they want to pick it lengthwise. So they'll go ahead and do this so they can do their 2 positions on a trailer and get their full 22 positions on a pup trailer. So that's probably what happened there. Not that I really care. I'm just glad that the thing is in good shape. And look at this. Everything is in the guards, okay? We've never gotten anything with the cardboard still on it.
No.
From any carrier.
Yeah, this is the first time we've ever seen actual packaging.
And I see it. I go into the freight docks almost weekly. I'm in there working on stuff, and it is a very rough environment. I mean, sometimes it's very scary and sometimes it's very organized, but almost every day they're going to have a crazy period. So if anything can make it, Titan is going to do their best. So all we have to do is get this thing on the ground. I also wanted to show you the hydraulic lift capacity on this unit. This thing will lift 2,800 pounds, I believe. You want to look at the specs to verify, but I believe that's at this pin. I may be wrong on that. It might be this pin. but I think it's at the pin. We have 2,800 pounds of lift capacity, and the size of these cylinders was so much bigger than anything in the size class that we were looking at. We were going to be having to go up to a 4 series John Deere, and we were looking at a big 3 series. So I think it was like a 3060, or excuse me, a 3046, I think is what we were looking at opposite this. And this is a 60 horse, so it's just like 57 or 58.75 horse. They're never quite what they say they are, just like the Deere was not a 46 horse, it was like a 44 or whatever. But this is a turbocharged diesel 3-cylinder, and everything is made in South Korea on this, and everything on the Deere is made all over the world, which is not necessarily a good or bad, it's just the way it is. So that being said, oh, by the way, I have done the first 50-hour maintenance on this, and we did a quick video on that. It's nothing really super crucial, but just to show you kind of what was involved in it. And we're going to try to keep you up to speed on this tractor, because I was blown away with how good it was when I did my test drive, but it's been very good. And every time we use it for something, we're always impressed every time. In fact, there's not been anything we've done that it's even given us a problem on yet. And I mean, the Deere, the 1025R, we pushed that thing to the limit and beyond, and we loved it, but it's just, we outgrew it immediately. So, all right, without further ado, we'll reset and get this thing on the ground and start doing the work.
The attachment out of the crate after he's got the top part of the crate off. So he's just going to drop the forks
How
over
about
here.
we leave these until we're done, just to make sure we can get everything done? Okay?
Okay.
So we were looking at this off camera for a minute, and we realized, oh crap, how are we going to do this? Because there's a vertical post here. And so we kind of looked at it and studied it a little bit, and I think we're going to be okay, because we'll be able to straddle this. So we'll find out here in a second. So if we do have to, look at this, guys, they used super nice hardware for this. That's crazy. It's like stainless steel hardware. Awesome. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take this top off. And once the top is off, then we'll reassemble this, and we can use it for something else if we want. Probably make a nice little table stand. My camp crew loves when I save things.
Especially giant metal objects.
Hey, listen, these are awesome. You could build something useful out of this, actually.
This is the only one that we could reuse because it's the only one
Huh?
not in 12 different pieces or bent beyond.
Well, that's not true. The
Usefulness.
last one was okay, too. Which was from, what was that from? It wasn't the drum mod.
The snowplow.
Yep.
Bulldozer blade.
Yep, that's
Which
right.
was also from Titan.
And we love it.
Yep.
That was a 92-inch hydraulic angling blade. And we have a video on it, too, if you guys are curious. If you're watching it and it's snowing, the Brian Phillips of April pities you.
Yes.
Look how much hardware I've got so far. Goodness gracious. For what it's worth, this is the 11/16 impact. I don't know if that's actually metric or not, but my guess is probably metric. So whatever size that would be in metric. Okay, and our driver was nice enough to give us the 1 bolt that popped out in transit. So we're gonna put this down and come right back. All right, so in terms of unpackaging, this is where we are. Just have to break this loose. These like to kind of flop all over the place, so normally it'd be nice if you had a second set of hands, but my second set of hands is holding a camera. It's weird how that always works. Okay, so now that that's off, I could try to pick it up now, but I think the better thing to do would be to try to undo all these tie down points. And this is some thick wire. Give them a close-up of what they use. This is really nice when you see that they're actually caring for your equipment that you've already bought and paid for.
Yeah, I thought it was like that plastic coated stuff.
No.
But
it's like actually really hard to break though.
Yeah.
I think it's steel. Good lordy lord. I can barely unbend it. There we go. Okay. So it looks like pretty heavy duty attachment points too. The welds look pretty clean. They're not, I mean this looks pretty bad, but that's fine. It's got nice thick steel. So on a grapple, the tough part is you want it to be heavy duty enough to get the job done, but you don't want it so heavy duty that you can't hold anything. Because on a tractor, especially a subcompact tractor like what we're dealing with, you know, you lose capacity quick. If this is 650 pounds, that means that at the pin, if you just considered this 2,800 pounds of capacity all in, which is not true because you are way back here, 2,800 pounds, that means out there you may only be 19 or 17 or 1,800 or whatever it is, okay? Because the further out, the longer the lever arm. So my whole thought was, we'll get the lightest one we can find. Well, the problem is if you get the lightest one you find, then the opening gets really small. And so we found openings as small as like 24 inches on some of these grapples. And we wanted to have two different cylinders because there's many that have one, and I'm sure they're great, and they're actually probably a lot heavier duty. The trouble is, have you ever seen a log that was even from the left side to the right side, or from the right side to the left? They're always dangly, and especially if you got a root structure that's still attached, if you have a tree that blew over and it pulled the root system up, it's gonna be like 3 times bigger on the right side than the left side. The other thing too to consider is we went for a smaller one, which really hurt my cheap soul because I said, oh, I can get the 72 inch for like the same price. Oh, bigger is better, except that it's not always. Because when you pick up a log, you're gonna be limited by two things. You're gonna be limited by the opening size, which you can also grab onto something that you can't get all the way in and bite it and then roll back. But you're gonna be limited by size of the opening. You're gonna be limited by the capacity of your lift and your roll, or your curl, if you wanna call it that. Okay, so you're gonna be limited by those two factors. And those are the two primary factors.
And you're limited by the width of your vehicle that you're getting into the space.
And that's the biggest thing, because we're working in the woods on this next project. And so we said, that extra 12 inches, it's not gonna do us any favors when we go into the garage, when we're between days on the project. It's not gonna do us any favors when we go in. Our wheelbase, or excuse me, what did we measure that at the back, hon?
Like 86 or something,
yeah.
Maybe. I can't remember.
So the thing is, you don't have to necessarily have the back wheels all the way into a location. You can bring in and have those narrower front wheels sneak in between two trees and grab something.
Yep.
So
and if you look down while he's untwisting that down to where we're working, we have a lot of trees that we're trying to save, and we're working on getting all of the junk between the trees. So we need to be able to get into some of those tighter spots.
And we're talking about in the back.
And in the back, it's even.
That you guys haven't even really seen.
No, it's even
because the
more
back
intense.
is like actual wood.
Yeah, this is just like.
This is just
a
like
tree line.
Yeah, a tree line, exactly. And this stuff is really, really stiff. Like, it's hard for me to undo.
Is that the last one?
I think it is. So we're sorry to keep you guys so long on this, but the whole idea is for you to see what you're getting into. Titan does a real nice job though. I think the number one reason I like Titan is for when things don't go right. And we've learned that on machinery, that's a very big deal. It really is, because there's so many things that happen between when this thing was made, wherever it was made, and when we get it at our house or at our farm or whatever it is, you need to really keep that in mind because it's a big factor, a big component. Okay, so we'll pause and throw this stuff out. Okay, so I just broke one zip tie free and I realized you guys are watching an unpackaging, so I probably should show you this. So I undid this, and this is a support for the hydraulic hoses, and it's got this big spring mount, and I believe it's supposed to go right there. Actually, you're supposed to throw it on the ground. No, that's supposed to go right here, but I think it might supposed to go this way, because look where that's going to clear. That's going to be, well, actually, yeah, it should clear still. So we'll go ahead and put that on now, and we don't even know if we're going to need it yet. So we'll pause and get the tools for that. So I had an 11/16 for this hardware, but then I'm using a 3/4. It's a little bit sloppy, so it's probably a metric middle step. So basically what I want to do is loosen these, and then I can mount that thing. There it goes. All right, so the camera crew was just trying to help me hold that while I'm doing this. Pretty long bolts, good hardware. Yeah, I can tell these are metric because of the size of the washer. The hole compared to the size of the washer, that tells me that's probably metric. And it probably says there it's 8.8. So yeah, that makes sense. All right, so let me slide this through. Thank you. And let's just see how that goes. So if that's the assembly, that is by far the easiest assembly we've ever had. However, the plow probably would have been just as easy, except we didn't have the hydraulics on there yet.
Right. That was the first time we'd done hydraulics.
Okay, so that'll be nice. If you get your hydraulics caught on something, you'll have a get out of jail free card. So it's all through this plastic right now, so obviously we don't want to leave that on there. So I think we'll just kind of take a look at it. Heavy duty, it's got a fabric sleeve all the way over it, which is nice. Man, it's always really hard to, seems like it should be just like an extension cord or something, but they're so heavy. I'm really tempted to leave the sleeve on here.
I know you are.
I can't be the only one that wants to do that. It's just one more layer of protection.
It's just gonna have 5,000 thorn holes in it in like 2 minutes.
That's true. Hey, look at that. Those are nice fittings. They look like they're not ombre tight. I heard some complaints that these things needed to be tightened. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and get a tool and just tighten them up right now. Okay. Oh yeah, that needed a little bit of tightening. I think their rationale is don't over tighten it, because then some poor schlub's got to work it off. Perfect. Well, it's gonna be easy to grab stuff through the middle.
Yeah, that's true.
I've not had an overly bad experience with these flat face fittings. When I first got the first attachments we got, I immediately tried to switch them over to agricultural Pioneer style fittings. They leaked about a teaspoon of oil every time we hooked on an implement and took an implement off, and I just couldn't handle it. I immediately went back to these. And if you get them from Summit, they're very economical.
Yeah.
You know, like we were looking at like $100 a pair in town, and we got them for like in the $20 to $30 range. Prices are always changing though, so just check the links in the description if you really want to know what they cost. So then this thing can go, it's got some memory. That is gonna look kind of weird. Okay, so I'm just gonna feed that through, and then that'll hold it so it's out of the way when I go to drive into it, which we'll do right now. Okay, so this is how the universal skid steer attachment system works. It's like that, and then you let it onto the ground and you just back out and you roll it down and under. So I'll show you that right now.
hoping that we can just pick this up and that middle brace is not going to be in the way because it's welded to the bottom of the frame. So hopefully that's the way it's going to work. So we can just lift this right up out of the frame. So that's what he's going to do right now. So see what the lighting is.
Okay, now I'm gonna bleed off my hydraulic pressure. I'm gonna bleed off my hydraulic pressure on the thing that I'm hooking it up to. And that's so that when I press fit those in, it's gonna actually go through the flat face fittings. Now those flat face fittings, if you try to do them under pressure, you might get them, but you probably won't. So part of the reason we're showing this whole thing is just so you can see the entire process, because like nobody ever shows this stuff. They just assume everybody knows how to do all these steps.
Do this side.
Oh, I just got greased.
Oh.
Don't lean into your grease zerks, guys. That's a rookie mistake. Okay, so now those are both down and it's locked on, and this is where you're looking. Right there. See that? That drops down in there and that locks it. So there's a little bit of play. Don't get greased.
I know.
Okay. Looks good?
Yep.
So then, basically, at that point, you can just... I'm still not 100% sure if I'm going to leave this here or not, because I don't know if we need it in our application. Okay.
First time we need it and we don't have it. We're going to wish we did.
Well, no, I mean, you can always take it off and put it on later.
Right.
So now we added these ourselves. On a Kioti, they'd normally be mounted here. If you buy the factory setup, we did not. We opted to be cheapskates. Actually, no, we didn't really opt to be cheapskates in this case. We couldn't get it because the pandemic had pretty much stopped everybody from getting anything. And then I put this so high, I'm going to lower it down just a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Okay, much easier.
Okay, then you can reach.
So much easier. So these things have a ball bearing that's over here, and that's what I'm fighting with on this one here. There we go. See how it's lined up? Just push it in, and then you're ready to rock and roll. And you don't really need to do anything fancy after that. I just want to see kind of where the hoses are going to go. That's the thing, you got to be careful with a new implement. You got to know where the hoses are going to end up. And that's why I'm saying I don't know if that's the right way. I almost think it needs to go through the front and then back. But we're going to find out real quick here, because I'm about ready to run it right now. The world's shortest unboxed video from Titan Attachments.
No, it's the world's shortest unboxed video from Brian Phillips.
Brian Phillips RC?
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, folks. So as you can see, she opens up nice and wide and she'll close down nicely. The idea behind these tines, these things will let you go into the ground and get underneath the load without tearing up quite as much as you would with a bucket. Okay, so there's many different styles, but that was probably one of the easiest setups we've ever done for Titan attachments. I need to get in there and grease this. Look at this Spidey.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we love spiders around here.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's fast. He's speedy. So anyway, we need to basically, oh, did you see him?
Yeah.
He's put a line on here. So we need to grease those 6 fittings. And then as far as I'm concerned, we're ready. What we're going to do is we're going to measure this opening for you because that's the opening measurement that everybody always wants to know. So we'll pause and get that.
Okay.
All right, folks. Tip to tip, 32 inches, 32 1/8 there. Inside to the top is 35. First step, 34, 33 1/4, and then 32 5/8, and then 32 1/8. Okay, you want to show them the actual
I was
tape
trying
measure?
to show the
32 1/8. Okay, so you can get right out to the tip, and that's the. And then the other thing too to keep in mind is the angle of attack. The reason I showed you that rolling all the way over is that a lot of guys will use this as a rake. You need to be careful when this cylinder is all the way out, okay, meaning you're curled all the way down like this. You can drag the ground, but you need to be real careful because this cylinder can be yanked out. And you'll break this cylinder right out of the front. The front of the cylinder will literally rip off of there. So you need to be careful. If you're a couple inches up, you're going to have a little bit to dampen that to deal with the shock. But if you're right at the end of that cylinder, that's something that people do run into problems with. So be real careful. It'll tell you that in your manual for your loader, or the manual for the tractor if it came with the loader, depending on your manufacturer. And same is true when you're back dragging on your regular bucket. So just be aware of that, and you should be fine. But I'm happy with it so far. We're going to give you guys some footage of this thing in the works. It'll be right now. Stay tuned.
We are going to do one more clip just of him pulling in our garage. I don't know if this will help anybody else to be able to show it, but you guys know how tight our garage is. This is just like everything. So I have to watch him. We have way more stuff should have in our garage. The yellow marks are where
How's my wheel on that side there?
I can't see your mark.
No, I mean, how's it with the truck?
You're okay. You can sneak through.
That's where I need to be to get out.
Okay. You could sneak through here if you had to. It wouldn't be super comfortable.
So it's on the ground.
But
It
you can
fits
get
in
through.
here.
Yeah.
So that's all of our objectives.
And that was another reason that we went with the 60-inch over something a lot bigger, is that if we're in between projects and we know we're going out the next day, we can leave this on and park it in the garage. So
Not that it's hard to take it off.
no, it's not.
It's just everything about this tractor ends up being the right size, but it still has power,
Yep.
which is the key. If you don't have power, then you can't get work done. And we'd like to have a bigger building someday, but this is the building we got right now, so we get to work with it. And that was another dimension that scared us. We looked at a tractor. It was a great tractor. It was beautiful. It was like $33,000, so it was a little bit less than this, but it was probably half the tractor, and it had a grapple that was probably doubly as large as this. And that thing had nothing left. You could maybe like pick up like, I don't know, one dead cat, and then you'd tip the thing over. And by the way, I have a 800-pound ballast box and 950 pounds of water weight in the tires. So if you're running this thing, you're gonna need ballast. Plan on it. If you don't have ballast, Get some, find some, make some, and put it behind you. Or you're gonna have a very bad day, because this thing is heavy and it is almost as light duty as you can get the Econo, and we can put a link to that too. But the Econo weighs about 200 pounds less, and it will make a big difference. But you're gonna lose about 10 inches of opening.
Yep.
That's why we didn't do it.
Yep.
Plus, it happened to be out of stock right now. So, all right, guys, that's all you get. Stay tuned. We're gonna show it in real use right now.